Have you ever meticulously planned your life, laid out each step with precision and care? Perhaps you've spent countless hours crafting the perfect roadmap for your future, envisioning every milestone and achievement along the way, only to have it take a sudden, unexpected turn, a twist you never saw coming, a detour that throws all your carefully laid plans into disarray. Maybe you had everything mapped out, every detail accounted for, every contingency planned. Your calendar was meticulously organized, your goals were clearly defined, and your path seemed certain. But then, one event, seemingly insignificant at first, changed everything. A disruption, a challenge, a moment that altered the course of your life in ways you couldn't have imagined. We often see these moments as frustrating detours, unwelcome interruptions to our perfectly orchestrated lives. We lament the lost time, the missed opportunities, and the deviation from our intended path. But what if they're actually the path we're meant to take? What if these unexpected turns are not setbacks but rather opportunities in disguise, guiding us towards a destination far greater than we could have ever planned? This is the story of Moses, a narrative filled with unexpected twists and turns, a journey that took him from the pinnacle of power to the depths of the desert. A prince of Egypt, raised in the lap of luxury, destined for greatness, whose life was upended by a single act of compassion and defiance, a moment that would forever alter his destiny, sending him from the opulent palace, the center of Egyptian power, to the desolate and unforgiving desert, a place of exile and solitude. For 40 long years Moses lived as a shepherd, tending the flocks in the remote wilderness, a far cry from the royal court he once knew. His dreams of power and influence seemingly lost in the vastness of the wilderness, buried beneath the weight of regret and uncertainty. Yet, it was in this quiet, forgotten place, far from the distractions and temptations of the world, that he was being prepared, molded, and refined for something extraordinary, a purpose far greater than he could have ever imagined for himself. The burning bush wasn't just a miracle, a supernatural phenomenon, it was a turning point, a divine intervention that redirected his path and revealed his true calling, showing us that our detours, those unexpected and often unwelcome interruptions, can ultimately become our true destination, leading us to fulfill our purpose in ways we never thought possible. Sometimes, the wilderness, that place of solitude and seeming emptiness, is precisely where our real story begins, where we discover our true selves and our ultimate destiny. In a vast universe stretching out beyond our comprehension, it's easy to feel insignificant, like a tiny speck of dust lost in the immensity of space. We look up at the stars, and the sheer scale of it all can be overwhelming, making our own existence seem fleeting and unimportant. But the story of the burning bush reminds us that even in the face of such vastness, we are not forgotten. This powerful image, a symbol of divine presence, speaks to a God who is intimately involved in our lives. God sees not just the big picture but the smallest details of our lives. He observes our struggles, our triumphs, and everything in between. Nothing escapes his watchful gaze. Hears every whisper of our hearts, every unspoken plea for help. He is attuned to our deepest longings and our most profound fears and cares. His concern isn't distant or detached, it's deeply personal and filled with compassion. He feels our pain and longs to offer comfort and healing. God told Moses in a moment of profound revelation, "I have seen the affliction of my people, the suffering they endure, the burdens they carry. I have heard their cry, the desperate calls for deliverance, the anguished pleas for justice. I know their sorrows." He understands the depth of their pain, the weight of their despair, the burden of their oppression. For centuries the Israelites' pain seemed ignored, lost in the vastness of time and the indifference of their oppressors. Their cries echoed in the wilderness, seemingly unanswered. But every tear and prayer was noticed, held in the heart of a God who sees and hears. Their suffering was not in vain, it was a catalyst for divine action. This isn't just ancient history. This is a timeless truth that resonates even today. When you feel trapped or alone, when the world seems to have turned its back on you, remember, you are seen and heard. You are not invisible. Your struggles are not unnoticed. God's empathy isn't passive, it's not just a feeling, it moves him to act, to intervene, to bring about change. The burning bush was a declaration, a promise of hope, a sign of impending liberation. Deliverance is coming, freedom is on the horizon. When you feel most forgotten, when you're convinced that no one cares, that's often when change is about to begin. That's when God is preparing to move in your life in a powerful way. Even in the wilderness, in the midst of your struggles, you are never alone. God is with you, guiding you, and preparing you for a future filled with hope and purpose. Why does transformation often happen in the wilderness? Because it strips us of ego and distractions. Moses spent 40 years in Midian, learning patience, humility, and solitude, lessons he couldn't learn in a palace. The wilderness wasn't wasted time, it was preparation. Our own wilderness seasons, unemployment, loss, waiting, are classrooms for growth. In silence we learn to hear God's voice and discover strength in our weakness. The wilderness isn't the end, it's where the next chapter begins. When God called Moses, he didn't leap at the chance, he hesitated, full of doubt and excuses. "Who am I?" Moses asked, feeling unqualified and small. God's answer was simple: "I will be with you." It's not about our ability but God's presence. Moses worried he wasn't eloquent, that people wouldn't believe him. For every excuse, God offered reassurance and help, even sending Aaron to speak for him. God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. Our insecurities don't disqualify us. They're where God's strength shines. God never asks us to do the impossible without providing what we need. When Moses doubted his abilities, God promised, "I will be with your mouth and teach you what to say." God used Moses' ordinary staff, a simple tool, to perform miracles. What we see as ordinary, God can use for extraordinary purposes. Our talents, experiences, and even our weaknesses can become powerful in God's hands. We don't need to be perfect, just willing. Place what you have in God's hands, and He'll provide the rest. Every journey begins with a single, often scary step. Moses returned to Egypt, risking everything, armed only with faith and a promise. True fulfillment comes not from comfort but from obedience to a greater purpose. Like Abraham, stepping out in faith can change not just your life but the world. Obedience unlocks significance, comfort keeps us small. We can stay safe in Midian or step into a larger story. Trusting God's promise over our fears leads to a life of meaning and adventure. The story of Moses is not just an ancient tale but a powerful mirror reflecting our own lives and journeys. It speaks to the universal human experience of being called to something greater than ourselves, even when we feel inadequate or afraid. God still calls through the pressing needs we see around us, the cries for help that echo in our communities and in the world. Sometimes, it's a restlessness within, a nagging feeling that there's more we should be doing, a deeper purpose we're meant to fulfill. Or it manifests as unexpected opportunities to serve, chances to use our gifts and talents to make a difference. Your burning bush might be as simple as a neighbor in need, someone struggling who could use a helping hand or a listening ear. It could be a cause you can't ignore, an injustice that stirs your soul and compels you to act. Or perhaps it's a difficult call to forgive, to release bitterness and embrace reconciliation. Feeling unqualified is normal. Moses certainly did. Doubting your abilities is part of the human experience, but God's answer is always, "I will be with you." That promise is the bedrock of faith, the assurance that we are not alone in our endeavors. Offer what you have, your time, even if it feels limited, your talent, no matter how small you think it is, your compassion, the empathy that allows you to connect with others, and trust God to use it, to multiply your efforts and make a difference beyond what you can imagine. Don't let fear keep you stuck in the wilderness, paralyzed by doubt and uncertainty. Purpose and fulfillment await on the other side of obedience, beyond the comfort zone of what you already know. Pray for courage, listen for the call, the still small voice that guides you, and take the first step, even if it's a small one. Your story is just beginning, and it's waiting to be written.